Close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping into a quiet room bathed in early morning light. In front of you stands an object you've seen thousands of times yet never truly noticed. It's simple, reflective, and patient. It waits, always there, observing your moods, your victories, and the words you mutter under your breath when no one is around. The mirror has no opinion of its own, but it has a secret role. It is the doorway through which identity travels. Florence Scovel Shinn, a woman ahead of her century, once hinted that the mirror is not just glass and silver. It's an altar, a transmitter between what we call visible and the hidden field of creation. And that every phrase we speak before it becomes a declaration written into the invisible script of our lives. People chase formulas, strategies, and endless motivation to change their circumstances. But the truest transformation begins not in the bank account or the body, but in the reflection we face daily. The way you talk to yourself silently forms the architecture of your destiny. You may have been taught that success is carved by effort alone, but effort without alignment is like rowing against the current. Florence said the spoken word carries vibration, and vibration is the language of the unseen. When you speak, you tune the instrument of your being. Most people never realize they are broadcasting lack, fear, or doubt every morning while brushing their teeth. They whisper, "I'm always late, I can't afford that, nothing works for me." And the mirror records those frequencies faithfully. Now imagine reversing the entire pattern. Imagine standing before your reflection and speaking as the architect, not the victim. Instead of repeating what went wrong, you plant words that belong to what could be right. You affirm your worth not with desperation but with calm certainty. Florence Scovel Shinn called this sacred act a decree, a statement spoken with conviction, as though the universe were a living listener. She believed life responds not to wishful thinking but to the tone of authority carried in the words "I am" and "I receive." When those words leave your mouth, you sign invisible agreements with creation itself. Science is only beginning to catch up. Researchers discovered that the brain cannot easily distinguish between reality and vividly imagined experiences. Mirror neurons fire when we see someone act or when we perform the same act ourselves. So when you gaze into your own eyes and speak powerfully, your brain reads the command as an event already happening. You are, in essence, updating the software of belief. Florence didn't use such modern terms, but her principle was the same. Every statement charged with faith becomes a seed planted in the field of the unseen. Some seeds bloom quickly, others take time, but all respond to the gardener's confidence. Think of the mirror as your silent collaborator. It has no agenda except to project what you feed it. It doesn't argue, it amplifies. If you whisper despair, it multiplies despair. If you whisper confidence, it returns clarity. The act may look simple, even trivial, but that's what makes it radical. Humans search for complex rituals, pilgrimages, and external validation, yet overlook the most accessible portal, their own reflection. Florence once wrote that words are bridges between thought and manifestation. When spoken with emotion, they travel farther than logic can see. Let's rewrite how you meet yourself each morning. Don't treat the mirror as an adversary cataloging flaws. Treat it as a witness to your awakening. Before any goal, before any plan, stand still, breathe, and speak as if heaven itself were echoing your tone. The first decree is not about wealth or status. It's about remembrance. Remember who speaks. Remember that you are not begging for life to notice you. You are commanding the energy that already flows through you. The moment you stop asking when will it happen and begin stating it is unfolding now, the mirror shifts from a flat surface to a living symbol. It's the same shift Florence described when she said faith is the substance of things hoped for, the invisible made tangible through conviction. There's a hidden humility in this practice. It's not arrogance to affirm your greatness. It's obedience to truth. Arrogance says, "I did this alone." Faith says, "I align with the greater law that already holds abundance." That's why Florence warned against using the word as manipulation. The decree isn't a trick to dominate reality. It's a declaration that harmonizes you with it. Picture yourself as an instrument being tuned. Each phrase, spoken with feeling, tightens or loosens the strings of consciousness until they resonate with the frequency of abundance. Let's paint a scene. A woman named Elise once felt invisible. Her bills stacked higher each month, and self-doubt became a second skin. One morning she remembered something she had read in a worn-out book by Florence Scovel Shinn. It said, "Nothing stands between you and fulfillment except the image you hold of yourself." Elise decided to stand before her mirror and, despite trembling, said aloud, "I receive clarity, I receive opportunity, I receive the flow of provision now." 4 days. Nothing changed, externally. But inside, her tone grew steadier. Her posture opened. 2 weeks later, an acquaintance called about a collaboration she had once dismissed as impossible. Was it magic? No, it was the mirror returning her new identity. Life doesn't deliver miracles. It mirrors them. That's the essence Florence wanted the world to grasp. The universe isn't withholding. We are resisting through our language. The door to abundance doesn't need to be broken open. It only needs the right phrase turned like a key. And the key isn't please, nor someday, but the certainty of I receive. This statement doesn't beg. It accepts. It doesn't project into the future. It claims the present as already blessed. It is not pretending something false. It is reminding the subconscious what was always true. Most of us learn to speak about lack as realism and about abundance as fantasy. But what if it's the reverse? What if complaining is the true illusion, and gratitude the real perception? Florence would smile knowingly at this paradox. She would tell you that reality bends toward the words that carry conviction, not toward the data that carries fear. The mirror becomes the battlefield where these two forces meet, faith and doubt. Each morning you choose which soldier speaks first. So today, choose deliberately. Stand before your reflection as if you were addressing an old friend who knows all your mistakes but still believes in you. Speak with that blend of tenderness and authority. Let your words travel from your heart rather than your habit. Whisper, "I receive restoration, I receive new beginnings, I receive peace." Don't rush. Watch your own eyes as you say it. Feel the subtle change, the way your shoulders lift, the way your breath deepens. That's not imagination, that's identity reprogramming itself through sound and sight combined. Florence Scovel Shinn's teaching was never about chasing fortune. It was about remembering alignment. She taught that prosperity is the shadow cast by a mind living in harmony with its divine pattern. When you speak into the mirror, you're not commanding the universe to obey you. You're commanding yourself to remember who you already are. And that memory has creative power. Pause and think. What have you been declaring lately without realizing it? The quiet phrases like, "I'm so tired," "I can't catch a break," "Nothing ever changes." Those are decrees too, just with a different frequency. The mirror doesn't discriminate. It reflects whatever contract you sign. The good news is that you can cancel and rewrite those contracts at any moment. The words are the pen, your voice the ink, the mirror the paper. The next time you face your reflection, try this experiment. Before saying anything, smile, not to appear positive, but to acknowledge the sacred meeting between you and your own spirit. Then speak slowly. "I receive light in my path. I receive provision with grace. I receive the wisdom to act at the right time." Watch how your energy shifts, how your face softens, how your inner noise quiets. You just moved from reaction to creation. You just opened the first gate of the unseen. There's a moment, usually quiet, almost imperceptible, when you realize the mirror is no longer just reflecting your face. It's revealing your beliefs. That's the turning point Florence Scovel Shinn wanted people to reach. She believed that life doesn't answer words mechanically. It responds to the state of consciousness behind them. The decree, "I receive," isn't magic because of syllables. It's magnetic because of the identity that speaks them. The problem is, most of us have spent years rehearsing identities of struggle. We speak from the mouth of the wounded instead of the healed, from the posture of lack instead of the stance of sufficiency. The mirror simply amplifies what we rehearse most. But imagine if you could interrupt that rehearsal. Imagine if the next time you caught yourself saying, "I'm unlucky," you paused, looked at your reflection, and replied with gentle defiance. That may have been true once, but I receive a new pattern now. That small act is rebellion against your old programming. Florence would call it reversing the spell. Words of doubt are not harmless. They're blueprints. Every complaint sketches walls around your potential. Every word of gratitude builds a doorway. So when you say, I receive, you're not pretending the storm isn't there. You're opening a window for sunlight to enter. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require perfect faith, only willingness. Florence used to emphasize that divine power meets us at the point of expectation. You don't need to feel worthy. You need to declare worthiness until it becomes familiar. The universe listens not to volume but to vibration, and vibration grows stronger with repetition. Think of the mirror as your daily rehearsal space, where you train your inner frequency to hold abundance naturally. It's not forced optimism. It's spiritual conditioning. Now let's explore what actually happens when you begin to live this way. Opportunities appear where logic saw none. Conversations shift. People respond differently. Why? Because you're transmitting differently. The mirror practice doesn't change the world instantly. It changes the lens through which you interpret it. Florence would call this changing the mental picture. Once the picture changes, reality reorders itself to match. The power of I receive isn't that it manipulates events. It harmonizes perception so you finally notice what was always there. There's a story about a man named Daniel, a musician who had lost his confidence after years of rejection. One morning, frustrated, he stood before his bathroom mirror and muttered, "I'm done chasing what doesn't want me." But then something within him whispered, a phrase from an old Florence Scovel Shinn book he'd once skimmed in college. "Your word is your wand." Almost without thinking, he lifted his head and said aloud, "I receive my rightful place. I receive the stage that belongs to my gift." For 21 days he repeated it, sometimes believing, sometimes doubting. On the 22nd day, he received a call from a friend asking him to fill in at a local concert. That night changed everything. It wasn't the words themselves. It was the alignment they created. Florence taught that divine law doesn't play favorites. It mirrors faith wherever it finds it. The danger lies in using that power unconsciously. Many speak curses over themselves daily. "I'll never get ahead, I always mess up, I'm not enough." Each of those sentences is a decree, sealed and delivered. But now that you know you can reverse the current, you can stand before the same mirror and, with calm certainty, rewrite the entire script. I receive clarity. I receive strength. I receive divine timing. That's the moment when identity shifts from beggar to heir. And here's the truth most people resist. Abundance is not a prize, it's a posture. The heir doesn't plead, he accepts. The beggar hopes, the heir knows. Florence Scovel Shinn's legacy is the reminder that spiritual law responds to identity faster than it responds to effort. When you stand in the vibration of acceptance, the world bends to meet you halfway. The key is to speak as though it's already done, not because you're pretending, but because you're aligning with the unseen pattern where it is already complete. Let's pause here and bring it to life. Picture this scene. You, tomorrow morning, standing before the mirror. No fancy incense, no mystical chants. Just you, your reflection, and a voice that trembles slightly but speaks anyway. You say, "I receive abundance with peace. I receive wisdom in every decision. I receive love that matches my growth." That vibration goes out like ripples on water. Somewhere, something rearranges. It may not be dramatic, but it's precise. Life begins adjusting itself to accommodate your new frequency. And this is where many fail. They speak once and expect fireworks. Florence would smile and remind them, faith is not a flash, it's a flame. You don't light it once and walk away. You tend to it daily until it becomes part of you. Repetition isn't boring. It's creative reinforcement. Every I receive chisels away a layer of disbelief until the sculpture of your new self emerges. You don't force belief. You build it. Now let's talk about something few admit. Fear. Many are afraid of this practice not because they doubt it works, but because they sense it does. Power always carries responsibility. Florence warned that words spoken with emotion shape destiny, whether used for good or harm. So when you say, "I receive," understand what you're claiming. It's not just money or health, it's a new level of accountability. You can't declare abundance and keep gossiping scarcity. You can't decree harmony and feed conflict. The mirror will remind you of your contradictions until your actions match your affirmations. If you've reached this point in the message, take a breath and realize something sacred is unfolding. You are not simply listening. You are remembering. Florence said that remembrance is the highest form of prayer, because it reconnects you with the truth that never left. This moment, right here, is your invitation to remember. The mirror is not outside of you. It's a symbol of consciousness reflecting itself. Every time you say, "I receive," you're whispering to the divine within, "I'm ready to stop pretending to be small." Now, if you've been feeling something stir inside, a spark, a curiosity, honor it. That's the soul recognizing truth. And before we continue deeper into the mystery of how this practice reshapes destiny, I want to invite you to do something simple but meaningful. If these words have reached you, if you've felt that click of recognition, take a second to subscribe to this channel and join our growing circle of people walking this path of awakening together. But don't do it out of routine. Do it as an act of alignment. You're not following a channel. You're declaring that you're part of a movement that believes in conscious creation. And because the mirror ritual is about participation, I want to ask something from your spirit, not your algorithm. Go to the comments and write the first phrase that comes to your heart beginning with, "I receive." Maybe it's, "I receive peace." Maybe, "I receive strength." Maybe, "I receive courage." Let your fingers be the voice of your decree. When you share, you amplify it, not only for yourself but for others who read and resonate. Let's turn the comment section into a collective mirror reflecting abundance, hope, and transformation. When you decide to speak differently, the entire world begins to listen. Not because it suddenly changed its rules, but because you finally aligned with them. Florence Scovel Shinn used to say that the universe is a perfect listener. It takes every word as law. That means that even when you speak casually, the words travel somewhere. They land in the soil of the invisible and wait for repetition to water them. Every "I can't," every "I never," every "I'm tired of trying" becomes a seed, and the more you repeat it, the faster it grows. But when you change the language, when you start saying, "I receive," "I am ready," "I am aligned," you replant your garden. You uproot weeds of doubt and sow the intention of abundance. It's almost poetic that the mirror is used for this transformation, because the mirror has always symbolized self-honesty. You cannot hide from it. You can pretend confidence before the world, but not before your own reflection. The eyes staring back reveal whether your words are hollow or alive. That's why Florence insisted that the decree must be spoken with feeling, with a vibration of certainty, even if your logic resists. Emotion is what carves the word into reality. The vibration of joy, gratitude, or peace turns language into creative power. Think about the difference between saying, "I receive" with doubt versus saying it with conviction. The tone alone decides what universe answers. There was once a young artist named Leah who doubted her worth. She believed that talent belonged to others and that her art was a childish dream. But something shifted when she stumbled upon a quote by Florence Scovel Shinn. "Your imagination is the blueprint of your future." Leah began to stand before the mirror each morning, brush in hand, and declare, "I receive inspiration that serves others. I receive opportunities to express beauty." Slowly, clients began to appear. Commissions followed. She didn't cast a spell. She changed her frequency. The invisible responded because she finally believed her reflection was capable of something divine. This practice is not about vanity. It's about stewardship of thought. You are the custodian of every word you speak. Florence wrote that the subconscious mind is like soft wax. It molds to whatever impression you press upon it most often. When you repeat, "I receive," day after day, the wax hardens into a new mold of confidence. And that confidence quietly edits your decisions, your posture, and your willingness to act. Soon the external shifts, not because something magical happened, but because your inner narrative stopped sabotaging the flow. Florence's message was simple but profound. Abundance is not a reward, it's a reflection. The mirror ritual doesn't bring you something you didn't have. It unveils what you've always been. It reveals the air beneath the disguise of the beggar. Every time you say, "I receive," you're peeling back another layer of disbelief. You're not begging the universe to bless you. You're giving it permission to show you what was already written with your name on it. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to move through life with ease, it's rarely luck. It's linguistic alignment. They speak from assurance, not anxiety. They may not even know Florence Scovel Shinn by name, but they live her principles. They declare before evidence appears, and the evidence arrives to validate their faith. The mirror exercise is simply a conscious way to cultivate that same pattern. When you say, "I receive abundance now," your posture straightens, your voice strengthens, your energy rises. You behave differently because you believe differently. Let's be clear, this is not about pretending to be happy when you're not, or forcing optimism. Florence warned that denial is not faith. Faith acknowledges the shadow but chooses the light. When you stand before the mirror and affirm, "I receive peace," you're not ignoring chaos, you're inviting order to take its place. You're commanding the invisible to align your mind with balance. Each time you do this, you reinforce a higher vibration. Eventually, it becomes your default state. Now, think of how this practice ripples into relationships, work, and health. When you start speaking from acceptance rather than need, people feel it. Conversations soften. Doors open. Even your body responds, because the chemistry of belief influences every cell. The phrase, "I receive," tells your nervous system to relax, your heart to expand, your imagination to awaken. You move from survival to creation. Florence Scovel Shinn described this as entering the divine pattern, a state where everything that belongs to you finds its way effortlessly into your experience. But remember, responsibility grows with power. Once you know that your word shapes reality, complaining becomes self-sabotage. The mirror will no longer let you lie to yourself without consequence. It reflects truth until you choose coherence. That's why some find this ritual uncomfortable at first. They see not just their face, but their contradictions. And yet, that discomfort is grace. It means the transformation has begun. It means the identity of the air is awakening beneath the old mask. If right now you're thinking, "I've tried affirmations before and nothing happened," take heart. Affirmations without emotion are like seeds thrown on concrete. They need fertile soil, belief, repetition, and surrender. Florence's practice combines all three. When you see yourself, speak with conviction, and release the outcome, you activate the law of correspondence. As within, so without. Results vary only because consistency does. Every day before the mirror is another strike of the chisel shaping the masterpiece. Let's anchor this truth with a symbolic gesture. The next time you face your reflection, touch your heart before you speak. Feel its rhythm, its steady proof that life already flows through you. Then, with breath calm and steady, say, "I receive the best that belongs to me by divine right." That phrase was one of Florence's favorites. It acknowledges that abundance isn't stolen or begged for, it's rightful. As you say it, imagine light filling your chest and expanding through the mirror, surrounding your reflection in brilliance. You're no longer asking for blessings. You're recognizing them. And as you do, remember that your story can become someone else's evidence. Just as Leah's painting inspired her community, your courage to declare, "I receive," might awaken another heart trapped in self-doubt. The law of abundance is contagious. One voice declaring truth strengthens the frequency for all who hear it. That's why your participation matters, not as an audience member but as a co-creator in this movement of conscious receivers. So before we go further, take a deep breath and allow this awareness to sink in. You are not separate from the source of abundance. You are its expression. The mirror is not testing you. It's inviting you. Every word you speak is a bridge between possibility and experience. The more you cross it, the more natural it feels to live on the other side. There is a quiet revolution that begins inside the mind long before the world notices it. It starts the moment you stop repeating your limitations and start declaring your inheritance. Florence Scovel Shinn believed that spiritual authority begins with language, the sacred sound of conviction that reshapes the unseen. The phrase, "I receive," isn't just positive thinking. It's the spiritual handshake between the human and the divine. When spoken before the mirror, it becomes both an affirmation and an agreement. You are telling the universe, "I am ready to match the vibration of what already belongs to me." Most people imagine that life responds to effort alone, but Florence revealed something deeper. Life responds to alignment. You can work tirelessly from a place of fear and still find yourself exhausted, or you can move from a state of faith and watch the impossible begin to cooperate with your steps. The mirror ritual doesn't replace action. It transforms the energy behind it. When your actions come from the frequency of receiving, they carry a grace that effort alone cannot generate. You stop chasing outcomes and start attracting synchronicities. Consider the story of Julian, a teacher who felt trapped in a routine that dimmed his spark. Every morning he repeated the same complaint, "I'm stuck." But one evening, scrolling through an old digital archive, he discovered a quote by Florence Scovel Shinn. "No man is your enemy, no man is your friend, every man is your teacher." It struck him deeply. The next morning, instead of his habitual sigh, he faced the mirror and declared, "I receive renewal. I receive divine direction." He didn't know what would happen, but something inside felt lighter. Within a week, a former student invited him to collaborate on an educational project abroad. It wasn't coincidence. It was correspondence. The inner declaration had opened the outer path. This is what Florence meant when she spoke of the law of substitution, the idea that you can replace a destructive thought with a constructive one and change the entire current of your experience. The mirror is the laboratory where you perform this experiment. When you say, "I receive," you are performing spiritual chemistry, transmuting fear into faith, inertia into inspiration. Every time you do it, you weaken the grip of the old self that survived on scarcity. Now, imagine how many contracts you've unconsciously signed throughout your life. Not on paper, but in language. Each time you said, "I never have enough," "I'm unlucky," "people like me don't succeed," you sealed invisible agreements of limitation. The beauty of Florence's teaching is that you don't need to fight those old contracts. You simply write new ones. The words, "I receive abundance," "I receive clarity," "I receive divine order," dissolve the old signatures. You are not begging for mercy. You are updating your spiritual identity. There's also a deeper biological magic happening. Neuroscientists explain that when you pair movement, sight, and sound, as you do when speaking before a mirror, you reinforce neural pathways at a faster rate. The brain encodes the new pattern as familiar truth. That's why Florence's simple instruction works so powerfully even a century later. It merges the mystical and the measurable. The mirror becomes not just a spiritual altar, but a neurological training ground for abundance consciousness. But with this revelation comes responsibility. You cannot declare prosperity and then gossip about lack. You cannot affirm love and simultaneously harbor resentment. The mirror demands coherence. Florence called it the law of non-resistance. To receive, you must release what contradicts your decree. It might mean forgiving someone you've silently judged or releasing a fear you've carried for years. The universe cannot fill hands still clutching the past. It's in that releasing that the ritual reveals its real strength. As you continue your practice, you'll notice emotions surfacing, memories, regrets, doubts. Don't suppress them. Florence taught that whatever rises is ready to be healed. Let those moments before the mirror become your confession and your consecration. You are not only affirming abundance, you are cleansing resistance. The tears that sometimes come are not weakness. They are the body's way of making room for new energy to enter. And as the cleansing deepens, gratitude starts to take over. Gratitude is the heartbeat of receiving. You begin to see blessings in places you once saw obstacles. The small coincidences, the right message, the unexpected call, the delayed flight that leads to a chance meeting, become evidence that you've entered a new rhythm. Florence often said that nothing stands between you and abundance but your own disbelief. When belief turns into certainty, the mirror no longer reflects your fears, it reflects your divine pattern. There's something tender about watching people rediscover their power. Some start with shaky voices, afraid of sounding silly. But the mirror doesn't judge. It simply responds. Day by day, that voice grows firmer. Shoulders lift. Eyes brighten. And soon, the energy in the room changes. Even loved ones notice something different. An ease, a confidence, an unspoken radiance. That's what Florence called the glow of realization. When a person stops striving and starts embodying the truth they've always carried. Let's take this beyond the ritual. Imagine living as someone who already has what they once prayed for. How would you walk? How would you treat others? How would you spend your time? That's the embodiment Florence wanted her students to master. The decree isn't finished when you step away from the mirror. It continues through your behavior. You speak prosperity in the morning, then demonstrate integrity in the afternoon. You declare harmony and then choose patience when tested. The mirror initiates the transformation. Your actions complete it. Now, I want you to pause and reflect. How many mornings have you stared at your reflection and criticized it? How often have you used your words to build cages instead of wings? What would happen if, for the next 7 days, you replaced every self-judgment with "I receive"? This isn't superstition. It's spiritual discipline. Florence Scovel Shinn proved that repetition builds reality. 7 days may sound small, but small keys open great doors. By the 7th day, you won't just believe differently. You'll feel differently. The mirror will become a friend, not a judge. If you've reached this part of the journey, you already sense the shift. You're not here by accident. Something in you has been calling for this realignment. And if this message resonates, if it has stirred something within you, then stay with us. Subscribe, not out of habit, but as an act of commitment to your own growth. You're joining a space where ancient wisdom meets living practice, where words become transformation. And after you subscribe, I invite you to interact from the heart. Share in the comments one insight that awakened within you. Was it a moment of recognition? A memory? A spark of faith? Speak it into existence. When you share, you reinforce your decree and gift encouragement to others walking the same path. Let this not be another video you watch and forget. Let it be a seed. Every comment, every affirmation, every silent nod becomes part of the collective current of abundance we're building together. Florence Scovel Shinn believed that collective faith multiplies energy. When many declare "I receive," the atmosphere itself becomes charged with possibility. Let's be that atmosphere. When Florence Scovel Shinn spoke about the power of words, she wasn't giving people a motivational slogan, she was handing them a key. And that key, simple yet sacred, was meant to unlock the door of the ordinary so the extraordinary could walk through. Every phrase you declare before the mirror becomes part of that unlocking. Every "I receive" reshapes the energetic architecture around you. If you've come this far, you've likely already begun to notice something subtle shifting. The tone of your thoughts, the rhythm of your emotions, even the way you carry yourself. That's not imagination. It's integration. You're starting to embody what Florence called the divine pattern fulfilled, the state where outer reality bends to match inner conviction. Now let's speak honestly. There will still be moments of doubt. Days when your mind whispers, "It's not working," or "I feel foolish talking to my reflection." That's natural. The old identity doesn't dissolve overnight. It fades through consistency. Think of it like dawn. Darkness doesn't argue with light. It simply retreats when the sun rises. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you affirm "I receive" in the face of uncertainty, you are turning that sunrise a little brighter. Florence said that persistence is proof of belief. You persist not to convince the universe, but to convince the remnants of your own disbelief. At some point, something remarkable happens. The practice stops feeling like repetition and starts feeling like remembrance. You no longer stand before the mirror to ask. You stand there to affirm what your soul already knows. The reflection becomes less about your features and more about your essence. You begin to see the light behind your eyes, the part of you that has never lacked, never doubted, never feared. That's the true self Florence wanted her readers to rediscover. The heir, not the beggar. The creator, not the victim. You might notice that life begins to mirror this new self in very practical ways. Someone offers help at the exact moment you need it. A forgotten project comes back with new promise. A door that once seemed sealed suddenly opens. The cynical part of your mind might call it coincidence, but Florence would call it correspondence. The law that the inner and outer are two sides of the same fabric. When you align the threads inside, the tapestry outside reweaves itself naturally. And yet, the deeper gift of this ritual isn't just material. It's spiritual authority, the ability to stand calmly in any circumstance and know that your word carries creative power. Florence called this the peaceful command. It's not arrogance, but awareness. You realize that you no longer need to plead with life to treat you well. You speak your alignment and life responds accordingly. This realization frees you from fear, because you understand that nothing truly external can dominate a consciousness that knows its source. So how do you sustain this awareness once you leave the mirror? Through gratitude, integrity, and embodiment. Gratitude keeps your heart open to flow. Integrity keeps your word powerful. Embodiment turns your decree into reality. Say, I receive love, then walk with kindness. Say, I receive wealth, then act with generosity. Say, I receive purpose, then live with intention. Florence's genius was bridging spiritual truth with daily life. She never separated the mystical from the practical. To her, prosperity meant harmony in all directions. Body, mind, and spirit moving as one. Let's revisit something she often emphasized: the contrast between the beggar and the heir. The beggar says, I'll believe it when I see it. The heir says, I'll see it because I believe it. The beggar measures by evidence. The heir measures by essence. When you declare, I receive, you're stepping into the consciousness of the heir, trusting unseen order more than visible delay. That trust is not passive. It's participatory. It requires courage to act from abundance before proof arrives. But when you do, reality follows your conviction like a shadow follows light. Many people who practiced Florence's teachings shared astonishing stories. Debts erased, relationships restored, health renewed, but the greatest miracle was always the same. They began to love themselves again. They stopped seeing lack as punishment and started seeing life as partnership. That's the hidden blessing of the mirror ritual. Self-reconciliation. When you can look at your reflection without judgment, you open the door for every other form of harmony to enter. Money flows, opportunities appear, relationships heal. Not because you chased them, but because you stopped resisting yourself. At this stage of your journey, you're no longer learning theory. You're living truth. The mirror has become an ally. The phrase, I receive, has become a rhythm. And as you speak it daily, you begin to sense its variations. Sometimes it means, I receive patience. Other times, I receive courage. Sometimes it's, I receive forgiveness. The words adjust, but the core vibration remains. Acceptance of the good that is already yours. That's the ultimate liberation. Moving through the world as someone who trusts life's generosity more than their fears of shortage. And now, as we bring this message to a close, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Feel your heartbeat, a quiet metronome reminding you that abundance already flows within. When Florence Scovel Shinn wrote, "Your word is your wand," she meant that creation begins with sound. So let your final decree today be one of power and peace. Say it aloud, even if softly. I receive the fullness of life. I receive wisdom, provision, and peace in divine order. Let it linger in the air. Let it settle into your cells. Before you move on, I want to extend an invitation. Not just to listen, but to participate. If this message has stirred something inside you, share it with others who are ready to awaken to their own reflection of abundance. Write in the comments what this practice awakened in you. Tell your story. Did you notice a shift in your thoughts? A new sense of calm? A sudden opportunity? Your words might be the mirror someone else needs. We are a circle of receivers, expanding light through declaration. And if you haven't yet, take a moment to subscribe, not out of habit, but as a conscious act of connection. Each time you return here, you strengthen your frequency of remembrance. You join a community that believes, like Florence Scovel Shinn, that spiritual law is practical, that faith is creative, and that the word "I receive" can turn a whisper into a world. This isn't about following a channel, it's about anchoring a movement, a generation choosing alignment over anxiety, inheritance over scarcity. As you go about your day, keep the mirror ritual alive even without the glass. Every interaction is a reflection, every challenge, another opportunity to declare. When frustration arises, pause and breathe. I receive peace. When confusion clouds your mind, whisper, I receive clarity. When success visits, affirm, I receive this with gratitude. That is how heaven's rhythm becomes everyday life, word by word, reflection by reflection, moment by moment. So, here we stand at the end of this journey, and yet at the beginning of another. The portal is open, the altar is within you, and the decree has already been spoken. The question that remains is not whether the mirror will answer, it always does, but whether you will have the courage to keep speaking the truth it reflects. The beggar waits. The air declares. And the air within you has just awakened. Say it once more, with a smile that belongs to certainty, not hope. I receive.